Hi everybody, hope you're doing marvelously well. It is a really beautiful, hot Los Angeles summer's day here. And I'm very excited because we're going to go and talk to Bruce Robb. Bruce Robb is a producer and an engineer that's worked with Levon Helm, Steve Cropper, and many, many other incredible talents, but probably is most famous for owning Cherokee Studios. Cherokee Studios, up until 2008, was on Fairfax Boulevard in Los Angeles. That studio made Steely Dan records and many, many other incredible albums. So we'll talk about the history of Cherokee. This is the new Cherokee. And the best thing about it is it still has the original Trident A-range console. So we're going to talk to Bruce about the history of the studio. We're also going to check out the beautiful console and check out the new room. So without further ado, let's get in there and check it out.
Morning.
Bruce, how are you?
I'm good. You're here. All right.
Yes, this is fun. This is going to be a rather lovely time. I'm sure Eric now is adjusting the lighting. How is your ISO going? It's a beautiful day.
It is. It is. We've got good California weather.
Wonderful.
It's not all bad out here.
Definitely not.
No.
I think the obvious thing to start with is to talk about the console, because I think that's probably, you know, what everybody's going to...
Yeah.
Because whenever you think of Cherokee from old, it was always like A-range, A-range, A-range.
Yep.
That was like everything that came up in a conversation.
There's nothing like them. There really isn't. They've been imitated a lot of times, but if you work on one, you realize this has ruined me. And that's what most of the engineers say, you've ruined this thing. But they're just amazing. They're kind of a fluke the way they were built and turned out. But, you know, the single-ended, unbalanced circuitry, which is kind of scary and grounding and clicks and pops, but it's worth it. It's like it clicks when you insert the EQ. Well, don't insert it in the middle of a take. So otherwise you'll be fine. But we've had this one since mid to late 70s. And Trident, we'd been looking for a new board and we tried everything. We lined them all up. We had API, Helios, Cadec, Neve, and stuff like that. And we listened and I thought, yeah, that's good. And I said, wait a minute. Why do these Harry Nilsson records sound so incredible? They just were unbelievable. And we looked at Trident, so we called them. And they said, well, yes, we're talking about building A-ranges and we can build you one. I said, okay, so they sent us modules. And Neve sent theirs in mahogany and API was all anvil case. And Trident's arrived mounted in a cardboard box with wires sticking out and stuff. And it was like, oh my God. So we had drums, an acoustic piano, and guitar to test the different modules and boards. We record them and play them back, and we hit the Neve, and then we hit the Trident. It was like, oh my God, no question. It wasn't a small difference. So we ordered one right away, and he said, when can we get it? And he said, about a year. He said, no, won't do. All right, we'll buy the API. I said, all right, wait a minute. Ours is almost done. So we bought the one that was going into Trident, and we did that for the next 3 years. Then we bought 2 more. So we had 3, and ultimately we had 4 A-ranges. But for 3 years, they never got their board. They all came here.
How many were ever made?
13.
So you had 4 of 13.
Yep, we had 4 of them, and it was awesome. It was just, there was nothing like them.
Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
And this is I think, this is the biggest one.
So tell us a little bit about the console, please.
Okay, it's Trident A-range. Very few of these creatures, 13 of them ever built. This is, I think, the biggest one. They're amazing consoles. The design is probably, we think, the finest sounding analog console that anybody's built. They go up to light. They're amazing. The transient response and everything is amazing. So it's a pretty simple design. You can almost just look at the board and figure out what it's doing. And, you know, starting up here, that's your bus assignment. And then your mic line, pots here, phase insert for aux gear, then low pass, high pass. What's really cool and one of the main points of this board is the equalizers. They're spectacular. They're unequaled. As you look around here, you'll notice there's very few outboard equalization. It's just a few things, Boltac and Lang and stuff like that. But you really don't have to go outside this board for much equalization. They sound awesome, and I think probably it's one of the things that makes it great is, besides the lack of electronics and lack of a lot of transformers, the curve of this equalization is so large, it's a broad curve, and it's so musical. It's like, there's not too many times you want to really bring a curve up to a peak. It gets nasty and weird, and when you can do it with a broader curve like this, and it sounds the way it does, the board's my favorite.
What is this here? This is the solo?
Solo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a solo in place.
Yep.
That's an AFL.
Yep.
So you can go that defeat, solo defeat, so that when we solo it, see, we're
right.
So you can keep your effects all defeated and stuff like that.
Great.
Pan circuits. These are 10 aux ends here, which makes it great. And down to the faders. And the fader automation is the Automix, which is API on them. Good system, but unfortunately there aren't many of them, and they're getting obsolete. So this will be something we're going to look at pretty soon.
What was this? Which number of the 4 that you bought was this?
This was number 1, I believe.
Oh, this is the first one?
Yeah. And we expanded it, 12 channels or so. And the other thing we did is these boards, like APIs, and some of the boards were going up in chines to where when you're sitting down, you really can't see over them. Which seeing over them wasn't a problem. It's what they did to the audio. You had this metal wall in front of your speakers here, and you'd get a very unrealistic curve. You'd come out with things missing from your mix that you thought were there. So we took about a year and went through and redesigned the whole face of the thing so it's flat. And George Oxberger was one of the people who suggested we do that.
Incredible.
And it sonically is transparent. It's wonderful. Now, so it's been a really, it was a long mix, and to get this thing long build, but it was worth it. And so now. So what was in the meter bridge? Was it, because this is obviously quite dramatic now from a meter bridge, it would have been like this one went here, and then this one went here, and this one went here, and then the meters are up here.
Wow.
So it was like, wow. In fact, we got probably the most valuable advertising because we built this board. We made the cover of Popular Mechanics. That was so cool. We got calls from everybody. More than you'd get from Mix or Billboard or anything. It was like, hey, I saw the board, Popular Mechanics. It's like, okay.
Okay, so the top left here, that must be an EMT 140
right.
plate control.
Remotes. We built those ourselves. Joe built them.
Lovely.
Yeah, they're great. And those are just what they say they are, Rolands. They're nice when you need them. Their effects we're very particular about our effects sonically as to what they use. So some of them we just don't use that much, but
Dimension D.
Dimension D. Now there's something, what can we put on this to really make it weird? Fat. But it does have some amazing effects. It's not bad. LA2s. This is the regular LA2, and this is one of the rare black-faced LA2s with the fast optos in it.
Rare is another statement. I think we've done about 50 studio tours. I've never seen one. So tell us a little bit about that one.
There weren't many of these, the black-faced ones. And we got this. I had a gear guy come in here and look at this thing, and he said the same thing. I've never seen one of these before, black-faced ones. And he said, these are so rare. And he said, I'd love to hear it and everything. He said, but the value of these is a lot. And he said, but you've ruined it. You've destroyed the value of this gear. And we explained to him, and because there's guitar jacks were drilled through the front and stuff. And, we explained to him that we're users, we're not collectors. I really don't, people will buy gear and you need to do something to it. No, don't touch that or you'll ruin the value. So we use these things. And the guy was saying, well, I'll still say you shouldn't have done that. And I told him, we didn't do that. Les Paul did it. This was from Les Paul's studio that he had a place out near the old ranch, and when he closed down, he called
Guess
us.
what? The value just went back up again.
Yeah. Well, he really pioneered direct recording, and he did some amazing stuff with his 4-track and ping-ponging and direct recording on it. And all of his guitars were direct that he did. He almost never used an amp.
Incredible.
Yeah, he was an amazing guy, really innovative. LA4s, really good little compressors. These I particularly like because, you can link them, and when you have, stereo Rhodes, what else? They're perfect. They were built for that. Very good limiters. Spectrasonics are good limiters.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I love those. They're really fast. Things are incredibly fast.
Is that a Trident down
That's
the
a
bottom?
Trident limiter.
I have one of those. What do you use it on?
I've used it on all sorts of stuff. I used it on an acoustic piano once, and it's pretty cool. I don't use much limiting. I try to use very little limiting. Limiting is a device that sometimes is somewhat of a repair device when people are having problems with their dynamics and everything like that. But it's becoming used as an effect. And it's always kind of been, but it's the kind of thing, it's like, if you really want that compression effect, there's ways to get it. And, taking everything and just cranking it, it'll make our record louder. Maybe if you don't use that and give your record some dynamic range, just turn it up. We're saying, but the dynamic range is really important in that. So limiters that are transparent and fast enough, you can do that, where you're not just squashing it where the meter comes up and sits. That always gets me. Over here, frequency limiting. You can get in and do great things with this, where you have singers that have very sharp voices, and when they get up to high notes and peak on them, you can catch them. That works. I recommend at least one of those. Then these guys, everyone knows what they are, and that's the backbone of limiters for the studio industry. They're it.
And some Drawmer dual gates over there?
They're real workhorses, and you need something squashed, they'll do it. They'll do it amazingly, and they can, they're really cool on hard, heavy metal guitars and things like that. I like them a lot on that.
And then you've got the Aphex underneath you were just talking about.
Yeah, the Aphex gates are beautiful sounding gates. They're, whenever you put in a gate, I always listen to it in bypass just to see what it's doing to the signal. And these are so transparent.
What is the limiter compressor? Oh, a Yuri one. I don't know that one.
This one, actually, we just put this one in, and I haven't had much chance to play with this one.
I haven't played with it either.
Yeah. I haven't had
See
much.
a distressor. Now, what's underneath the distressors are lovely.
Oh, these are Inovonics.
Beautiful.
They're peak limiting and average limiting the things. You can do the most amazing things when you have singers, and they're the quality that you can. You have singers that, and singers, you don't mess with their dynamics. You just have to be able to do it. So this, you will not hear anything pumping. It's really good. So those are great. And actually, I want all those I can get. I have one more that's in on the bench now. They're wonderful.
And talking of classic, there's the Compex.
Yes. Yeah, and also right now I'm looking for a vocal stressor. I love that, and the one we had at Cherokee, we lost when I was out on the road finishing some movies. When I came back, they'd sold a lot of the stuff. I said, stop, right there. But yeah, they sold the vocal stressor. But anyway, yeah, those are wonderful. They weren't as popular as they should have been, because you almost had to be retrained every time you used it.
I've said many times in videos to people that own them that it was always a learning curve every time I went to go and use one. But once I got the sound, I was like, don't touch it.
Oh, God, they're so good. Cropper I'd set these up for these, and he said, you got to be kidding. That's the limiters in? I said, yep. And he said, oh, my God. He went and bought one. He's got one down in Nashville in his place. But they're spectacular. I mean, that's the lead vocal limiter of, it's what you want.
And then a new DBX 160S, newer.
Yeah. Yeah, the DBXs are good. Well, they're very good limiters, but they do color things. They round things off. And it's like, for certain things, it's great, but otherwise, I'll color it myself.
So tell us about the Lang EQs.
Lang, they're great. They're very much like a full-range Pultec. They're great sounding. The transparency is spectacular in them. I love them. People love these things, and they do. And with the Pultecs, the only things I used to use with the Trident. and you'd go up to 12K and open up broadband and everything and just put a dB or two in the vocal, and it's just like, wow, now I can hear you breathing. It's wonderful.
Now, what is that lovely looking?
The Longevin?
Yeah.
Oh, what this is, it's it's a passive equalizer graphic. It sounds amazingly good, but one of the things that this was the bass sound for Motown. It was on every record, and here's what you did. And if you ever try one on a bass, I love them. I love it. When you get one that's like, with a P bass, you really don't need much. But with certain things like Rickenbackers and stuff like that, where you just wanted a little warmer on the bottom, damn, these things are great.
Now you've got a black MEQ5 down there.
Les Paul ruined that too. Damn him.
So that was Les Paul's MEQ5. That's gorgeous. I've not seen a black one before. The black LA2A that was his and the Pultec MEQ5.
Yeah.
Were they custom made from in black?
He may have had the face on this, but I don't know. On that one, there was a few black ones made, and that was one of the originals. But I don't know how this got black, but it looks like it's original. It's got all the same silk screening and stuff as the others. I don't know.
Oh, you got some audience stuff there.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the 5.1 system that we got with the Do Re Mi thing, which is really good.
That's great to hear. And then Elisa's Masterlink. I remember every studio on the planet used to have one.
The mastering rooms have them. They're just amazing. Now, they tell me the new ones, and they're still making them, pretty much sound like this. But the difference is it's not just like, yeah, I think. No, when you're A-B them back and forth, it's like, whoa, that one. They're wonderful. That one's still holding up. We've had it for quite a while. And I was wondering what we're going to do. And like they say, CDs are phasing out. Well, I don't want them to phase out. It's like, come on, you took away our records. Now you took the tape. And it's like, come on, leave us something.
What is this over here? This looks like it used to be in the console.
Yeah, this was the monitor system.
Yeah.
Which, having a monitor system populate the console, I'd rather have channels.
Right.
That's what you really want. And I personally would rather have this sitting off somewhere else with the second cassette run, give them cube system balances and that kind of thing. It's not part of, it's what they hear, but it's not part of the actual recording process. Monitor system doesn't get used that much. And so we can, with that, when we record, we divide the board. So we have input and return over here. So I'm returning everything on the board. And I'd rather return it on channels than those because they're missing certain things. That has worked out real good. The other thing we can use it for is I do a fair amount of movies and more tracks. And it was like the first few things I was doing on this board, it was like, all right, I'll have to rent another board because we've got score and I've got 60 tracks and stuff like that. And I thought, wait a minute, what am I doing? There's that. Because it dumps back into the stereo bus. It has all the aux ins. So it works great. There's our extra channels.
48, though, in the mid-70s was a lot of channels.
Yeah. It was. And, we had a 4000 SSL with 96 channels. And it was rare that more than 48 were ever used.
What tape machines were you using?
We started with our own custom versions of MCI machines. And we were able, Toby Foster was our chief tech then, and he was one of the people who designed Sheffield Lab and Doug Sachs and all that. And Bill Schnee's constantly built that. And he went through the MCIs and hot rodded them to where they were quite impressive and things. So we got to the point that we needed new machines, and we went through, like we did with the board, we went through tests. And so we'd set up our drummer and acoustic piano and guitar and go through with machines, and we had everything that was available in Studer and 3M and Ampex and everything like that. Well, about a year before that, Otari had literally pulled up in front of Cherokee and said, we have a multitrack that we'd like you guys to evaluate, and if you like it and everything. So they rolled in the MTR-90 Mark I. And Toby went out and plugged it in, and he said, this is god-awful. This can't be used. And so they said, could you write up what you think is wrong with it? And Toby said, sure. And he wrote up at least 2 pages giving them components and everything. So about a year later, they show up again and they said, here, we have another machine and we'd like you. And I think, boy, evaluating these, we're gonna have to do this. So we immediately enrolled it to the back of the tech shop. And there it sat for about a year. And we're doing the shootout and we had also rolled in Stevens machines called John Stevens. And they're probably the best sounding analog machine in my opinion. They go well with these. But anyway, we rolled the Otari in, and then we thought, we might as well try it. And it was like, whoa, this is as close to the Stevens I've ever heard. And this is the Mark II. They're amazing sounding machines. They're workhorses. They became the #1 analog machine. And then they went to FET switching, and that was a whole different ballgame. They did not sound the same. And people say, oh, it's not that big of a difference. Well, how big? I mean, it's cumulative from track to track. And as you're doing that, yeah, you notice the difference. So these are, to me, probably one of the best sounding mass-produced machines, except maybe for the Stevens, but the Stevens isn't even considerable. Otari 2-track. As far as we could tell with A being, this is as close to the ATR 100 as you could get. And I still think those are amazing sounding. I have one. But these are just amazing machines, and they are workhorses. They never go down. So this has been my 2-track of choice. I have quite a few of them. Great slap machines too.
On Pretzel Logic, for instance, what would have been the machine? The Stevens?
No, we brought a 3M out for that on it, and it was one that Roger had. Roger Nichols did that, and Roger came out to the ranch to do that, and brought them out there. So he came out and worked with us on the ranch. He helped us build it, wire the boards and everything. So when we got to that, he brought his hot rodded 3M out, and it was pretty amazing sounding. I always loved those decks. They looked so cool.
That's incredible. But
Yeah.
was it this console?
No, we had an MCI console at the time.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah, this was where we were closing at the ranch. We had the MCI and decided to order a new desk. And so that's what I was telling you, went through all these different sources, and it's in Trident 1. And shortly after that, we came out one morning and the studio had a big chain padlock around the door. And what had happened is they had closed us down for being an illegal home studio out in ranch property in Box Canyon, out in Chatsworth. And it was like, this is ridiculous. And as it turned out, the landlord who we were buying the place in leased purchase, his son had been out and he asked, could he visit the studio? He loves music. Well, he really did love it, because then after we left, this went back on the air for 15 years, the studio. But it was a good thing. For a minute, it was really depressing. It was really black. We had to take the studio and everything out of it, and we built it. It was our barn. We had horses and everything out there. And, so we put everything in storage, except the horses, and went looking for places, and we looked at the damnedest places. I mean, people would say, oh no, you got to see this. It looks like the Taj Mahal. We went, oh, we got to see this. And we go over and thought, no, this doesn't. This looks like a beer bar. And so we'd go around and look at different places to build, and then we look at different existing studios. And Toby found that MGM, unbeknownst to a lot of people, was up for sale. And that was at a point to where Mike Curb was the president of MGM, and I think he was the youngest president in the industry. And he was quite a guy. He owned everything, including their office building, which they didn't know, but he didn't own the studio. And so he wanted to, but we were able to get to the owners who were in Germany, and we bought the place. They made it real easy for us because we weren't in a position to,
And this is the building on Fairfax?
Yeah, that's the 751 building. So that was a great day when we got that closed and sealed it, and they gave us the keys, and we went in and running through the MGM thing. It was like, oh boy, here we go. It was a good thing, because otherwise we might have still been at the ranch, and what Cherokee turned into probably wouldn't have happened with the one studio in our barn. And as soon as we got into the Fairfax location, we'd been producing Ricky Nelson out at the ranch. With his the Stone Canyon Band was playing the stuff, and we got closed down in the middle of his record. So we brought him, and he was our first client at the thing. So we got one room on the air the way we liked it. And from there, we just go through the rooms and get everything, pretty much dialed in. It was Westlake rooms. And we wanted to change those. There's a sound to Westlake rooms, which is very appealing to sit and listen and play back in, but it's a compression room, and you're not getting what you think. Things are different. I mean, basically with any studio, you want to be able to walk out and you want to be able to mix what you hear without say, well, you have to make a few allowances here. It's, once you get the vocal where you want it, pull it back a dB and it'll be perfect. And no, I don't want to do that. But we ended up bringing George back in for that and putting Augsburger monitors in and relieving the compression out of it. Oh, and I think we may have been the first studio to have big subwoofers because all the rooms are quad. And so there were 2 double 15 cabinets behind us, and George was saying, let's make subwoofers.
What year is this?
74 to 75. We took it over in 74 and didn't get it opened up and running.
So Wired was done in Fairfax?
Yeah.
Did you track the whole thing there?
All of it.
I'm a huge Jeff Beck fan, so we could go on.
He's awesome.
We could go on for an hour about Wired.
Yeah. Oh, God, everything. He was such a pleasure to work with, too.
Incredible.
Not just that, we brought him in years later for a movie, and they wanted to use green onions. And Cropper was saying, well, you can use it, but I mean, everybody's, that's been in more movies. And I'm thinking, you're right. And so I said, well, why don't we get a new version? He said, yeah, but get somebody else. So Jeff Beck came down and we did green onions. And we had so much fun. He was great. But Lord, when you see players like that and they go strapping on, how was that? And you go,
what was the rest of the band for Green Onions? Do you remember?
Well, I'm trying to remember the other players were. I only remember the bass player because he'd come down, and I think it was his Ford Highboy, which was a 32 or so Roadster. And the thing is a hot rod guy. And he comes down with this beautiful girl with him. And he just met her the night before, and he said, this is our bass player. And I'm, okay. She was great. She was awesome. And the rest of the band, that was a while back. I'm not sure who was playing the rest of the stuff with him, but it was really fun.
Incredible.
Yeah, and there was no B3.
No B3?
No.
Well, one of the most famous B3 songs we've covered with no B3.
Yes. Okay, outside of being an excellent bar and buffet, with this studio and the way I look at studios, the important thing and the hardest thing to get sound on are drums. So first and foremost, this is a drum room, and the drums sound incredible. It's an L-shaped room, so we have about 6 milliseconds delay time over here. So when you bring the room mics up, it's not fast enough to hear a repeat, but it just stretches it out, and it's amazing sounding. So you get into the thing when you're recording bands, which is what I really like to do. When you record bands, it's like, who do you want to start? All of you. It's like, oh no. But when you do, magic happens, and it can't. You can tell the bass player to push the 3, stuff like that, and it makes everybody play slightly different. And once you lay down drum tracks or whatever, you can't ever go back and change this. So when a band plays as a whole, that's where magic kind of happens. One of the things that's a problem, I've had it happen on a few things, and working with Cropper as long as I did, it was all feel. Everyone's sense of feel. We had a kick drum drop out for a bar, and I said, Crop, what do we do? And he said, we got a kick drum rest. And we went for that. But when you're doing drums, basses mostly are direct. And if you need an amp, well, you'll deal with leakage or you'll baffle it off or whatever you can do. But guitars are the things that make you redo takes. It's like I screwed up the solo. Well, you can't redo it. It's in the room mics and the drum mics. That's when bands become bands and really play together and stuff like that. But still, that happens a lot. So once again, outside of being an excellent buffet and bar, this is a isolation box.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And that's our bass rig. It's dual 15 bass rig. And this is, we're saying where you doing a take and the guitar blows it. And there you go. So this will hold a Marshall on each side, and the room mics, drum room mics, go up there and there, and the leakage is so minimal from this. When these things are cranking, you close the door, it's just barely murmuring in there. And what's really cool is this is a compression box, and guitars like that. They just pop. So I know we were doing a thing with Waddy Wachtel and he said, all right, for the solo, let's take it out. Take it out. He listens, it comes in, and he says, God, that sounds great. Play the track back, he says, ooh, that box. We put it back in the box. thing, and it's an amazing sounding thing. But it's made the studio, real useful as far as being able for live bands to get the magic take and not have to suffer bad parts.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And this side, of course,
Yeah,
as well?
this one too. This one's open so you can see it, but yeah, it's got, a split front wall there for diffusion and then trap in there, and it works great. I mean, what I've been doing in here is put in a couple different amps, a Marshall on one side and then like maybe that little Champ on the other side on the thing, and it's just amazing sounding. You swear it's two different guitars.
I love buildings in LA with these roofs.
I know, it's 100 years old and the vibes are incredible. See those?
Oh, yes.
See those? This is really cool. This was in the 1920s. They didn't have cement mixers. And what they do, they'd have great big wooden carts that they'd fill with cement and mix the cement, and then ponies would pull them in. And they do it, and apparently this one ran over the thing. I love it. It's a lucky horseshoes.
You were telling me earlier about the piano, so let's...
Yes. Yes, the piano came.
You should be playing the piano. I've heard you play, so let's have you go over there.
Well, oh no.
Rather than me.
All right. No, I don't really play much.
I play piano like a guitar player.
Yeah, that's that kind of stuff. What's cool about this is Tom Kelly, who is a songwriter of the first magnitude, wrote like Virgin, True Colors, stuff like that, and he wrote all of his stuff on this piano. The sound of this piano and the way it records is spectacular. It's wonderful, and the action of it is great and everything. So I'm in love with it. I couldn't want more from piano.
Gorgeous. Let's talk about these beautiful guitars.
Where do we start? There's stories I need. Do you want the stories?
I definitely want the story on the Telecaster for a start, since that's the first one.
All right, here we are. We were the Robbs, my two brothers and I. We were a band since I was 13. The other brother was 14. And Dee, my big brother, was 16. He had the driver's license. So we went on the road and pretty much stayed there for almost 15 years. We're on tour with, I think the Beach Boys. And my brother needed a new acoustic. So we called Gibson and ordered a new Dove. And they said, well, where would you like it? You're on the road. We could send it to one of the cities. We said, great. And he said, we're doing next week Chicago, and then next week's Milwaukee. And he said, Milwaukee, we got a store there. Great. So they send the Gibson Dove, and we go in to pick it up. And this is like February in Wisconsin. It's like 0 outside. And here's this old cowboy standing outside, leaning against the building, stamping his feet like this in his cowboy shirt, trying to stay warm. And this thing is painted green with a paintbrush. And he's trying to sell it to the store. And the guy at the store said, it's just an old Telecaster. I'll give you $50. And we thought, he just wants to get back to Texas. So we gave him $100. We felt good about it, and he was really thankful. So we cut forward to Cherokee 30 years later or something. And Billy Gibbons is in with us, and keeps looking at this thing, and he's saying, what is this? He said, this isn't like most of the tellies I've seen. And we told him the story, and he said, I'm going to tell the custom shop at Fender, this is mine. And we'll send it in. He said, you could use some frets. I'll get you a set of frets. He said, I got to know what that is. So Fender calls us back about a week or so later. And he said, it's done. He said, well, how'd it come out? And he said, if we could build guitars like that, we'd still be the #1 guitar builders in the world. This, as they told us, is a 1951 Telecaster. Not a no-caster, a Telecaster. They built about 3 to 4 prototypes of new guitars, and this is one of them. What they were saying is, once again, we ruined it. We ruined this one. We did ruin this one. Changed the tuning pegs. We changed the bridge to a Gibson bridge. The Fendi bridge broke strings. It wasn't great. The tuning pegs, Fender tuning pegs. So we got good ones. These are Schallers, I think? Yeah. And they said, you've ruined the value of this guitar. And we thought it was like the Pultec again. They said, if we had this guitar, it would be 60 or 80. We're going, oh my God. But you know what? We are users. This is my brother's guitar, and it's not going anywhere no matter what it's worth. Did you want to feel that?
I want to strum it, yes,
oh,
definitely.
Yeah. Oh, you can plug it and play it. It just feels different, the neck and everything. This is Cropper's favorite guitar.
I've never played a neck like it.
I know, isn't it amazing?
It's
Oh, you should hear it. It's spectacular. I see, and Cropper came in and played it and went, oh God, I'm using this on the record. In fact, when he comes out for gigs, he borrows it.
yeah, I've never played a neck like that.
Yeah, what a find.
It doesn't feel like
and now-
any Telecaster.
And we paid the cowboy $100 and felt good about it. Oh my God.
Would you know who the cowboy is?
No, I have no idea. I'd do something for him. Who would ever have an idea the thing would become that kind of valuable?
So what's next here? An SG?
Yeah, an SG. I love SGs. They are incredible. And the guitars we have is, everyone has their own guitars and favorite guitars. The things that I'm doing is productions and things like that. There's sometimes when, we're doing the verse and it gets to a chorus and it's, all right, want to change something here. Should we overdub? No. Put that down and play this in the choruses. Same track and everything. And it's like, whoa, and something happens. And that with the Gretsch over there. Same kind of thing. That is a spectacular sounding guitar. So I like to have a lot of different sounding, really good things. You don't need many. That's cool. Baxter was telling me about this. He loves these things. He said they're between a Telecaster and a Les Paul. And I see what he means. They have a sound to them that are really cool.
Absolutely beautiful looking.
Yeah.
And then
that little Gibson is a beaut. It belongs to a very close friend, and he's bringing it here and kind of keeping it here, just letting us use it. In fact, he's in the band that I'm producing right now, and they're awesome. We're having a good time.
And then tell us a little bit about this Gibson here.
All right, what this Gibson is, this is Del Shannon's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And this story on here is high strung. Yep. Yep. And
We're going to play Del Shannon.
And that's a P bass that it can speak for itself and does. But this is an interesting story. Let me see something. This is the acoustic that I'm telling you about that we ordered and they sent to Milwaukee. Del recorded at the ranch all the time. And when he found this guitar, he never would play anything else again on his records. This was a Dove, and we had it for years on the road, and we got out here, and it needed rebuilding, so we sent it on somebody's recommendation to Brazil to a guitar builder named Bojo. And it disappeared for 6 or 8 months. He didn't speak English. His daughter had called and said, well, I'll check. And she said, all right, I checked with him. He said, it's not ready. He said, I suggest you leave it. He put a 20-year-old maple face on it, shaved all the ribs with razor blades, changed a lot of this, pegs, everything, played this guitar. This has been on more hit records than any acoustic anywhere.
I mean, we can't tell for these little mics, but the low end is insane.
Well, this records so incredibly well. Everybody that comes in, Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Cropper, everybody that comes in says, I'm going to play stud. Well, the reason he's stud is because Del played him and Del named him stud because he said, I never heard another guitar. This is stud. And so he says, I'm going to go get my own stud. So he goes and he buys this one. And he plays it and brings it back. And he said, this isn't as good as stud. You guys, it's yours. Take it. So we high-strung this one. And when you play this and do another track of acoustic on the high-strung, it's just magic.
They work beautifully together, yeah.
Yeah, they're
it's
just
gorgeous,
the
yeah.
detail. Isn't that a cool old thing? Probably 1960. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Little distortion. Hell. We're ready to go. Hey.
So, so you
All
were
the
telling
band.
me earlier this was the first Hammond. This is the keyboard you first
Yeah,
got.
this is the only B3 I've ever bought. And it's been amazing.
What year did you buy it?
I think I bought this in about 61. I remember as a little.
I was about to say you're knee high to a grasshopper.
Yeah, I was a little fella, and it was like, oh boy, how am I going to afford this? You know, because we were out playing bars, beer bars, and stuff, and that kind of thing. And it was a fortune. But once you play a B3, there's not much you can do. there's no going to anything else.
Is that the original Leslie that came with it?
Yeah, that's the original Leslie, and that's the other one. This I'm hooked
You
up.
bought it. You went straight for it. With
Yeah, I'm
stereo,
hooked up
the
to
whole
two
thing.
Leslies, and it sounds spectacular. And then we've got one of these. Have you used one of these?
I do. Yes.
Yes, aren't they are wonderful. Yeah, when we were on the road, I had to play, because it took me a year to do this, I had to play a Farfisa organ for all the concerts and stuff we were playing, and I just hated it. Damn it. So I finally called him and said, I want my B3 back. He said, well, I'm almost done. He said, I just got to get the electronics in the box. And I said, get it done, just get it done. So he put it in a cheap wooden trunk. Back then, 1960 something, this is still it, and I'm afraid to change it. Look at this. I wouldn't change this for the world.
Oh,
This
incredible.
organ sounds so good. I wouldn't dare mess with it. Lord. Oh, and it's got another thing in here where you can take the lower keyboard and take it off and put it through a guitar amp, because I used to have 4 double 15 bottoms on stage, so I'd take the keyboard and separate it for bass. And it was just it's really cool. So I'm afraid to touch that. Plus, it's got juju.
Tell me about this in red. Was this the original color?
Yep, it is. God, these things have been really discovered. I had somebody come in and tell me how much these were worth. You've got to be kidding. I've always loved Wurlitzer pianos. At the time, I remember thinking, oh boy, 100 and a quarter. Oh, okay. But they're wonderful. Instant Booker T.
Beautiful.
And it has an effect. I like that.
So you drum set up here.
These. I think the best recording drums ever built.
Connor, I'm going to throw you. You go play some drums, Connor.
Or did you ever use Camcos?
No, I know very little about them. This is tell me all about them.
DW, ultimately about the company, this was owned by the guy who owned Roland Instruments. He owned this company, but he decided to spin it off. So we had Camcos back at Cherokee, and they got destroyed over the years. These drums sound and record unbelievably. It's just spectacular. And it's the only 22 that really goes down. I've had people come and say, it's a 22. We said, oh, Camcos are different. DW bought them. Camco. So you recognize the hardware. They
Yeah,
kept this,
I do recognize the hardware.
but they're not the same. I think the reason is they made them manufacturable, which is the downfall of a lot of instruments and a lot of electronics and microphones and equalizers and everything. Well, we had to make it manufacturable.
Can I hear it, Connor? Play us a beat. Say some toms. What do you got going on here? RCAs on the overheads, is that correct?
Yeah. every drummer and every set is different. It's like, this is my drum setup. No, it's whatever you're going for. These are so pleasing to have up. These will make you love cymbals. You know the guys I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. It's like quiet kick, tight snare.
These sound so wonderful. You can get, with overheads, I try and get a sound on the whole kit. Just listening to it, you could really go with that.
They're throwing some big guys at the toms there, Bruce. Some fat 47s on the toms.
Yep. Once you use these, it's hard to go to anything else. We use these. Roger got us onto these. We use 47s on everything on Pretzel Logic. Vocals, pianos, drums, guitars, everything. And Roger's saying, hey, a good mic is a good mic. And it's a great mic. So in fact, these are still ABC. We got Roger left these with us, and my God, on the drums, they're incredible.
What do you have going on in the snare there?
Oh, that's one. It's a Neumann KM86.
86.
And they say it's, could use a 57. Not with that. When you hear it, your work is done for you. It sounds amazing.
And the right angle condenser on the hi-hat?
Yeah, the 451.
I've never seen a right angle 451.
I know, there's not many adjustable caps, and aren't they perfect for hi-hats?
Yeah,
you can get them out to the edge of the cymbal, and you can really change the sound of the hi-hat with that. That works great. This is cool. This is really cool. And once again, this is the only one. It's an Audio Technica, and they came to Cherokee, and they said, we want to design a kick drum mic, and we'll design it for you. Would you tell us what you need? And so we went through and told them what we're looking for and what we're doing with EQ, and they come back with this. And we plugged it in and went, oh my God, once again, half your work was done. This is the best sounding kick drum mic I could use. And so they came back with them manufactured, and we plugged it in, and I went, oh no. We had to make them manufacturable. This thing sounds amazing. I wish they brought us more.
So is this what became, was it the ATM 41,
they have one that looks just,
ATM 25?
They have one that looks just like it. It's the same mic. It's what this was the prototype of.
Fantastic.
Oh, it's wonderful. I've gone and tried everything else, and for a kick drum mic, it's all I really need. And everything about this kit is just, everybody that's come in so far has played this for a minute and said, I'm going to use this.
Is that a 546 underneath there?
57, yeah.
That's a 57?
Yeah. Or are they 546s with the swivel on them?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not either.
Well,
but
these guys will get great. A close-up of it.
That is the workhorse of every studio and every rock and roll record in the world.
I was eyeing this up earlier. Oh, you give me an amp. Oh, I feel special.
We got this just after the family bought Gretsch back.
Oh, it's super slinky.
Those guitars. Those things, Gretchen sounds so good. This Chet Atkins, I've always loved those. We had one of these back in the 60s.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is gorgeous. So you've had this since the 80s. It's in immaculate condition.
Yeah. And the other thing is the Bixby unit on this, you can use it. It won't go out of tune. That was the problem with these things. You couldn't keep them in tune.
Yeah.
But oh my God, these sounded so great.
It's one of the best playing Gretches I've ever played. I have a love-hate with them. Some of them are phenomenal and some are not. But this is
I know. Well, it's getting it. There was a period when Gretsch sold it to Brunswick.
Right.
And they went totally downhill, and all of the employees all got together and bought the company back and went back to it. And this was after they bought it back. Oh, and we got our session tonight. So I'm doing acoustic and drums. So we're going to get things on that. But that's everybody.
What is that?
That's an M49.
Oh, I've never seen it with cardioid only written right on the front.
There's so much less stuff in here with cardioid only. This thing, you can line it up against everything, and you'll pick a mic, and it always ends up being this. Everybody. It's Sinatra, Rod Stewart, Barbra Streisand, everybody on this mic. We use this for everything. spectacular. And the Toby Foster I was telling you about, he's the only certified Neumann guy to rebuild a mic. Anyway, he took this home and he said, here, I did this. And he dumps something in my hand and it looks like a spider web sort of different colors. He rewired the entire inside of the mic. He said, these wires are 50 years old. There's little, you've seen those. They're hair-thin wires. He rewired it. It sounds unbelievable now. Just what a thing. So the acoustic, so you've seen one of these. It's a Neumann 256. It's an earlier 56 than yours.
Oh, it is.
That's what it is, yeah. And doesn't that look from that same capsule?
It does look like a Can 56, yeah.
It is, and they're just, my God, this thing sounds incredible.
Where do you keep all your mics?
They're back in the tech shop, which is all, right now, we're filled with junk. To get at them, I'm going to have them clear the mic thing out. I want to do that today, but they're back in drawers back there.
So a lovely amp collection here.
I know, and it's just, once again, guitar players come in with their own amps, but like I'm saying, we're going to the chorus. For the verses, let's use something a little different. So we've got a really nice variety of stuff here, and the amps are really, really cool. This guy, the Marshall, this was Rick Derringer's amp, and this is a really ideal Marshall for a studio. The other ones, you've got to get up to a dB level. It's, they'll hear you in any other studio in the building. It's soft. This thing will start to do the compression that you want to hear and the breakup that you want to hear and what Marshalls do at a much lower level. And also, when you get to that kind of level, you start to get into different distortions, harmonic distortions and things like that. And this is just a really good sounding thing. It gives you, that's why Anthrax loved it, because it was just, you could just crank it to a distorted and it just
Do you remember which
sounded
Anthrax
beautiful.
record it was?
Actually, it was one of the movies. I did 5 movies with John Carpenter. And we were doing, I think it was Vampires. And he wanted a Metallica song. And he said, can we get it? And I said, well, we could, it'll cost. He said, we can use it 4 or 5 times a movie. And I said, all right, I'll find out. And so I said, okay, we can get the song. He said, how much will it cost? I said, $250,000. And he goes, ooh, that's bad. So I said, got an idea. I said, is it the music that you like, or is it Metallica that you like? He said, well, it's the music. I said, great, got an idea. So we called Anthrax, and Scott is out here, and the rest of the guys came out for a week. And we set up a screen out in the studio, and we played and wrote to the screen, and came up with 38 minutes or more of original music for it that was just awesome. So then I got Buckethead and Steve Vai to come in and augment with these solos on top of it. It's really cool. And that was a great soundtrack.
Incredible.
Yeah. So movies can be fun. Movies can be really fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, everything that to 1920s big band songs, and it's like really, it stretches it. Hey, it's all music. Okay, here's one. 1957. Boy, does this sound good. And the other reason I love it is, how can you not love a piece of gear that has one knob? Can you get me a different sound on that? Yeah, turn it up. This thing sounds, we've used this so much, it sounds wonderful.
So good.
Yeah, and the other thing, I'm taking any of these, and this one I mic also with two mics, and the Twins, the Blues Deluxe, which is up there on stage. What I've been doing is really cool, and we were talking about the Inovonics limiters earlier, is I'll take a mic through the back in the Inovonics and 57 in front. And usually this is what's the long Sennheiser for the rear mic, and put that through the Inovonics and really, really compress it to where it is totally smooth on the thing with no peaks. And it adds a bottom end. You're flopping a phase, of course, but you put it through the spider and you put this through and you flip it and it's like, wow. And you get all, because then this one isn't limited on the thing. And it's an amazing sound. I've been doing that. That, and then with Robin Ford, one other great guitar sound we got from these amps was putting a steel plate in front of the amp. And usually it was a twin or a one, whatever, a big amp. And you put the steel plate about a foot in front of it and just move it back and forth a little bit. And we use that on Robin. I've used that on a lot of things. And it gives you an edge to the guitar that you cannot get with any electronic device. It's really, really cool. So that works great. What else have we got? This is a 73 with the drip plate on it. I think that was the years of these. Yeah. Oh, actually, those went back to the 60s, didn't they?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, they did. So this is one in the drip plate. is very important for Fender guitars because when you're playing in bars, you spill your beer on the top of the amp. You can't run into the speakers. So this is stuff you need. That one, solid state.
What is that? I was just looking at that.
This came from my friend Buddy up at Conway, who was just loaded it into the dumpster. The amp weighs about 15 pounds. And it says solid state bass amp, and it's also got a plug for guitar. This is Baxter's favorite amp. You should hear this thing. It's great on the Wurlitzer too. It's just one of these solid state distortion things that sometimes...
Who's it made by? It says deluxe bass amplifier.
I don't know.
Solid
That's
state,
all it says.
FET and silicon transistors.
I don't know what it is, but anyway, my God, it sounds wonderful.
Answers on a postcard.
Yeah. What else? That
Showman.
Of course, yeah. The dual Showman, it has one sound, and when you need it, nothing else will give it to you. They're
Loud and piercing.
Yep, loud and piercing, and that kind of punch to them. It's just, Carl Wilson, kind of, playing Beach Boy licks. This amp, I love, much like other pieces of gear.
I remember those. I remember when they were new.
And Cropper brought the first one I've ever seen out, and he said, I love this thing. He always played the Twin.
They got a lot of bad press at the time.
Well, the reason they get bad press, and Cropper was saying this too, he said, the problem is, I'll come back, and he said, use the same tone you did last time. You can't. Every one of these is a push-pull and does entirely different things. There are so many things, and you can link these together, but oh my God, it sounds good.
Yeah, it had a lot of gain. I remember they were their attempts at getting a high gain combo.
Yeah, but they're real complicated. You got to spend a long time with these. But they're great sounding amps. This is becoming one of my favorites. This we got from Jeff Baxter. PV, single 15 tube amp. It's really cool. One of the best blues amps we got.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's really useful. And another one is this guy. Although it has a very high rating, it's still underrated. These things sound amazing.
And we can't ignore the clavinet sitting over here.
No!
That would be a real shame.
Yeah, these were amazing. And people were saying, what kind of synth is this? I said, well, it's one with strings. When you look at these and the way they're built, but my God, the way they sound. In fact, it's one of the few other keyboards that with a wah-wah pedal, I can thrill myself almost as much as with the B3.
It's incredible just how simplistic it
I
really
know,
is.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah.
God.
Strings, pickup.
No,
Battery.
Use this. Cropper and I were doing great outdoors, and they wanted us to do Hot Fun in the summer. So we thought, well, let's see how many slides people are on. So we got Little Sister and everybody, and came down, and God, that was fun. That and this. You can't beat these are wonderful. Oh yeah.
Just don't leave our bass players out.
Well, I mean, for years I used to say it's a sad state of affairs when in how many years of building electric basses we've only got one. I will take a P bass over anything. Nothing sounds like that on a record. It's just. Yeah, we went down and played about 20 of these with Ducky. He picked this one. Yeah, we were doing something, and Ducky had to have something done on his pickups. And I said, look, I wanted to buy a P bass for the studio, so we went down to Guitar Center and Ducky played about 20 of them for us. I said, that one.
That must have been a thrill for Guitar Center employees.
Oh, it was. They couldn't believe it. And all he do is sit there and play dum, dum, just like, God, the way he played that. Lord.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Now there's something to be said about, going for the feel and going for just the feel. And it hardly matters if you've got that. That's what makes music special. That's what makes it light up. That's what makes you have to lift the needle and play it again and again. That's what you used to do. And it's like, boy, how come? It's those records that have that kind of feel. And it's like, I don't know, nowadays when you're sitting around jamming, how many of the new things do you play, the new pop records and stuff like that? We need that back. We need the artists not to be corralled by genres or anything else. Remember Dick Clark telling us, do what you do. If you do it well and you like what you're doing, don't change it for what's going on. It'll come around to you.